I never thought I'd find myself here, writing down something I swore I'd keep locked inside forever. Some stories are too dangerous to tell, too intimate to confess, yet they demand to be spoken, if only to release the hold they keep over the heart. This is my truth, my confession, of the young tenant who stirred something in me I didn't even know still existed. It began on a crisp autumn afternoon in a quiet suburb of Massachusetts. The house I had inherited from my aunt was older, beautiful but lonely, and too large for just me. I rented out the small apartment above the garage to make ends meet. When he arrived, suitcase in one hand, guitar case slung across his back, I felt the air shift before I even knew his name. Ethan. 24, ambitious, with a kind of restless energy that belonged to youth but with eyes that carried storms deeper than his years. He was looking for a place to land, to write music, to figure himself out. I was offering nothing more than a room and privacy. At least, that was the plan. I was 37, settled into routines, and careful with my emotions. Love had been a closed chapter for me. I had convinced myself that the burn of desire had dulled with age, replaced by stability and self-reliance. But the first time Ethan smiled, half shy, half daring, I felt that belief crumble like brittle glass. From the start, there was a pull. He was respectful, polite, but there was a warmth in the way he lingered during conversations, a curiosity in his gaze when he looked at me. And God help me, I noticed him too much. The way his dark hair fell into his eyes when he strummed his guitar on the porch, the low timbre of his voice that seemed to find its way under my skin, the way his laughter carried late into the night. I told myself it was harmless. Admiration. A fleeting crush I could tuck away. But forbidden things have a way of slipping past boundaries. It started with accidental brushes, his hand grazing mine when he handed me the rent check, his arm brushing against me in the narrow hallway. Too brief, too innocent to mean anything. Yet every touch set fire to nerves I thought had gone dormant. One evening, after late autumn rain, I invited him inside for coffee. The storm had knocked out his power in the garage apartment, and I couldn't send him back out into the cold. He sat at my kitchen table, damp hair curling at the ends, his flannel shirt clinging to him. He looked boyish and rugged at once, and when he caught me staring, he didn't look away. We talked for hours. Music, regrets, dreams. He confessed he'd never truly felt at home anywhere. I admitted I'd stopped believing love was something for me, that stability had replaced passion. His eyes softened, then darkened. You deserve more than stability, he said quietly. The silence after that was dangerous, charged. I felt it, the possibility of what could happen if one of us made a move. I stood to clear the mugs, desperate for control, but when I turned, he was closer than I realized. His hand brushed mine again, this time deliberate, his gaze locked on mine. I should have pulled away. Every rational voice screamed against it. He was too young, my tenant, forbidden in every sense. But when his lips finally touched mine, tentative at first, then hungry, I didn't resist. I sank into it, into him, as though I'd been starving for years and only just realized it. The taste of him was intoxicating, a blend of rain, coffee, and something distinctly his. My body responded before my mind could argue, heat pooling, heart racing, hands clutching his shirt like I was afraid he'd vanish. When his fingers traced my jaw, sliding into my hair, I let out a sound I hadn't made in years. Desire. Pure, raw, undeniable. That night, we crossed the line. Slowly at first, reverently, as though testing the weight of what we were doing. Then urgently, frantically, as if we both knew there was no turning back once we started. Every stolen kiss, every whispered word was a rebellion against the world's judgment. It wasn't just lust, it was connection, magnetic and terrifying. In his arms, I felt alive in a way I had forgotten was possible. He looked at me like I was not a landlord, not a woman past her prime, but someone worth desiring, worth cherishing. He ignited something reckless in me, something that wanted to break every rule for the taste of forbidden fire. But reality always waits. The mornings after were the hardest, when the sun streamed in and the weight of what we'd done pressed down on us. We kept it secret, hidden behind casual smiles and careful distance. But secrets have a way of weaving themselves into every glance, every touch. I caught myself watching him too long when neighbors stopped by, jealousy biting when girls his age laughed too loudly at his jokes. He lingered near me when he shouldn't, his hand brushing my lower back when no one was looking, his voice dropping to that low, intimate tone only I seemed to hear. We became addicted to the thrill. Meeting in the garage under the cover of darkness, the press of his lips stealing my breath before we'd even locked the door. Quick kisses in the kitchen when the world was asleep. His whispered confessions against my skin, his promises that age meant nothing, that it was me he wanted, not anyone else. And God, I wanted to believe him. Every time I told myself we had to stop, that this would only end in heartbreak, he'd look at me with that fierce, unguarded desire, and I'd crumble. The risk only made it hotter, the idea that we could be caught, that our world could shatter if anyone found out. The secrecy was intoxicating, the forbidden nature of it all binding us tighter. But passion is never without cost. The more we gave into it, the deeper I fell. What began as stolen touches turned into nights tangled in sheets, whispers of futures that could never exist. I found myself imagining what it would be like if it weren't forbidden, if he was simply mine without consequence. Yet reality was a cruel reminder. I was still his landlord. He was still a young man with his life ahead of him. I knew I couldn't be what he needed long term, and the fear of becoming a passing chapter in his story gnawed at me. One night, after we'd given in again, sweaty, breathless, our hearts pounding in unison, I asked him why. Why me, when he could have anyone, someone his age, someone without baggage? He looked at me like the question itself hurt him. Because you see me, he whispered. Not who I'm supposed to be. Not who people think I should be. Just me. And I can't stay away from that. His words pierced me, because they were my truth too. He saw me, not the woman hiding behind routines, not the one pretending passion was a thing of the past, but the woman who still ached, still craved, still wanted to be wanted. We never defined what we were. Maybe we were too afraid. Maybe defining it would make it too real, too fragile. But every secret meeting, every kiss, every desperate embrace etched itself into me, carved into my heart as something both beautiful and impossible. Looking back, I don't regret it, not one moment. The world would never understand, and maybe we were doomed from the start. But for a time, we lived in that dangerous space between wrong and irresistible, where love burned brightest because it wasn't allowed. He was my tenant. Yes. But more than that, he was the young man who reminded me what it meant to feel alive, who stirred my heart when I thought it was untouchable. This is my confession. My truth. My unforgettable, forbidden love.